Okay, guys, I hear there's a little bit of a challenge with 14 and 15. And on 14 and 15, to solve them, you really need to understand vertex form. And I have on the page right now 2 vertex forms. One that is a y equals and one that's x equals. And so y equals are the ones we get used to using. If this number a in front is positive, it opens up. If this a value here is negative, it opens down. Those are the ones you're probably the most comfortable with. The ones that aren't as comfortable are the ones that are x equals. So in these, if a is positive, it opens to the right. And if this a value is negative, it opens to the left. And you have to remember HK is your vertex point. Now, one other thing that we always talk about too is that if I have some kind of a quadratic, I may also be giving a focus point. And when you have a focus, the focus has to be inside. We did have a directrix that would be outside. And so you got to kind of remember where those are located. So it doesn't matter whether it opens up, down, left, or right. Focus is inside and directrix is outside. So those are things you need to remember. Now, if we go and look at this first problem, it tells us write an equation of a parabola with the given vertex and focus. And really the big thing for you is, can you think about where it's located? So if I were to take and kind of do my x and y axis here, and all I'm going to do is kind of sketch. So they tell me my vertex is at 5, 4. So I'm going to go over maybe 5 here, and I'm going to go up 4, and right there is my vertex point. Now they tell me that my focus is at 8, 4. So if I went down 8 and went up 4, this would be my focus. Now remember what we said before. If that's the focus, it has to be inside the parabola that we have. The only way that would happen is if my parabola went like that. Now, based on what we were just talking about just a minute ago, this one opens to the right. That means I'm dealing with this kind of an equation where a is positive. So I know when I go to write this, it's got to look like this. And I also know this a value has to be positive. So let's look at our choices down here. First of all, it's got to be x equals, so neither one of those are going to work. I know this number in front has got to be positive, so if I look at the 2 choices for a and b, they both have positive 1 over 12, so we're okay there. Just going to set up this little outline here. So the other part that I need to know is that I have to use my vertex point here. And so you'll notice that the vertex point is flipped here. So if I go to look at this one, my h value is the first one of my vertex. That's the 5. It's got to go out here. And that number is my k, which in this one goes right here. So that's going to be 4. So now if I go and look at these, the only one that matches that for 14 is going to be a. That means you have to know kind of what the equations do. You have to know what it looks like. Now, you should be able to graph this right here, and it should look like that one. But sketching it kind of gives you a good idea of what's going on. Okay, let's do the same kind of thing when I look at 15. So here are my x and y here, and I'm just going to sketch what this looks like. So my vertex, if I go over -2 and I go up 5, that's my vertex. Okay, now, if I look at my focus, it goes over -2 and up 6, so it's up here. Now the focus has to be inside. That means my graph is going to have to open like that. So that means that I'm using y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. And I know that this a value has to be positive because that opens up. So based on that, I know right now on 15 that there's no way it could be a or it could be c because those are x equals. So now I'm going to look at the ones that are left over. So I know my first number has to be positive, so either b or d have an a value that's positive, so we can live with that. But let's look at our vertex point so we can figure out how to get this stuff in here. So if I look at my vertex, that is my h value, the first number. So h goes in here. Oops. Let me erase this negative so I can move it over. H goes in here, so if it's minus 2, that ends up being plus 2. And the second number here is my k value. So that's 5. That has to go on the end. So the only one that matches that is going to be D. Because on B, they have them mixed around. So that means 15's